A new committee within Fargo Public Schools is aiming to bring equity and inclusion to our schools. The Director of Equity and Inclusion for Fargo Public Schools, Dr. Tamara Uzelman, joins us today to talk a little bit more about this committee. Welcome to North Dakota Today.
Thank you so much.
Well, let's first start with just talking about what this committee is and why you feel this is a good time to have it here.
Right, so you're referencing the Parent Equity Advisory Committee for Education, right? And this committee is inclusive of parents, also has a student rep on it, elected by the student body, teacher reps elected by the teachers, and administrative reps on it. And they really act as a two-way between the community outside the school and inside the school, so bringing forward issues of equity and concern, and then helping to guide the work that comes out of my office, out of the Office of Equity and Inclusion. So it's a wonderful way to do work.
So your position was already there. Why at this point did you feel like it was a good idea to expand and have this committee? And what role will this committee have within the district?
Yeah, so the committee actually was a community-based idea, and they were just really intrigued at the opportunity to keep adding input into the equity and inclusion work. I think they wanted to make certain that it was as robust as it could be. Yeah, so, and when it was brought to me, I jumped on it. I thought it was a fascinating idea, and we've met. We're headed toward our third meeting, and so we've had wonderful discussions so far.
Could you give me an example of some of the discussions so far? If people are not familiar with this or your role, they might be like, well, what exactly does this entail, and what are they talking about?
So one of the, in my shop, my office, we have really 6 buckets of work. I like to call them gears. And for example, one of the gears is we are determined to improve graduation rates for all student groups. And we know that we have student groups of color who have a lower graduation than is deserving of who they are. And we recognize that as issues of access and opportunity. So we've had discussion at the committee around how we can fix that. And Fargo South is starting a really unique program called Building Assets and Reducing Risks. We're determined to get 9th and 10th graders off to a great start, because if we can get that to happen, they're well on their way to graduate. And there was discussion then about attendance and the need to change attendance policy and make certain policies inclusive. We've had discussion about educating educators about implicit bias and privilege that a dominant group has. And so we've done work around that area. We've talked about diversifying the teaching workforce. We have a Future Fargo program where we're going to build more educators of color. So anyway, fascinating discussions in really those 6 areas.
And I feel very timely as well, because we can't, not talk about the fact where we are right now as a country, and racial, inequities that are being addressed right now. Is that going to be addressed as well? And do you think this is just a perfect time as well to expand this role and have this committee?
The promise of a democracy says that all people should have voice. And so I think schools as a cornerstone of democracy is a perfect place to do the work. We are in a racial reckoning. We have hundreds of years of backlog racial work to do. And again, bringing it into the school is significant because we have 88 culturally, linguistically diverse groups in the school. And so when sometimes people hear that, they think, ooh, if one group wins, another group loses. That's a scarcity mindset, and it really defies the promise of democracy. The idea is, as you build each group access and opportunity to achieve their absolute maximum potential, the whole community is made safer and better and richer. You have stronger citizens, you have more employable people, and you have people vested in maintaining a healthy democracy. It's the #1 safety thing I think you can do for your community.
You have a very important job, and it's great to hear that this committee is now going to be formed and doing great work as well. So thank you so much for coming in and sharing what's happening right now in Fargo Public Schools. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for letting us talk.
We'll be right back here on North Dakota Today.